Good evening and welcome back to the Forge of Champions here from Barcelona. It's time for the playoffs and we're in the quarterfinals of this round. Of course, I'm Dalsey, joined by my fabulous co-casters for tonight. We've got Issa and Celtic Tiger to bring all the action. And like we mentioned, boys, it's knockouts, it's playoffs, it's all coming to an end.
Yeah, as I said on Twitter, actually, is the teams going through here, they get to session with us in Barcelona, and that's the key prize coming through from this. There's an EU Masters spot, there's some money behind it, but, you know, they get to come to Barcelona and chill.
Yeah, obviously
so really,
this inaugural Forge of Champions has been...
to meet you.
They get to meet you?
Potentially,
Tiger lol.
That's the one.
Yeah, that's the dream.
And of course, Asa casts. You know, we have to plug everyone here. But yeah, like we said, you know, the inaugural Forge of Champions so far has been here from Barcelona, with the finals in September also being in Barcelona as well. But then afterwards, the exciting thing is that, you know, LVP UK as well as Riot Games UK have, you know, made the move. They're going to bring it all the way over to the UK.
You're saying it's coming home.
It's coming home, yeah.
It's coming home.
FOC is coming home. That's what everyone cares about here. But yeah, it's been a great tournament so far. For those who are, you know, kind of fresh on the format, we've had 4 scoring tournaments of regular season. Essentially, an open division with a then scoring tournament from 8 open division teams versus the 8 premiership teams from, you know, the last UK season. They play in a round of 16 all the way through to finals, and they get different amounts of points ascending with each scoring tournament. And it's been pretty even. We've had 4 different champions of the scoring tournaments, which meant that, you know, the points were kind of distributed pretty evenly across the board. But now we find out which one of these 8 teams that have made it to the knockout stages will then be progressing to come to the semi-finals and the grand finals and win the first Forge of Champions.
I think it's definitely fair to say that there has been a lot of strong performances from individual teams. We've seen obviously Misfits in that 4th tournament stepping up a huge amount to make it to the finals and win their first one, and previously the 2 finals being Enclave versus XL before that. There's a lot of competition for that first place spot, so coming into these playoffs, we're not really sure what we are to expect, and one of our teams in action today, Misfits, I think a lot of people are saying are the favorites, but there's a lot of doubt, especially after yesterday and what we saw between both Enclave and XL. Yeah,
well, we'll get to that in just a short moment, of course. Let's plug the social medias first so that you guys can keep up with all the information and all the details coming into this knockout stages. Head over to Twitter and follow us at LVPUK. Use the new hashtag ForgeKnockout if you want to be part of the discussion. Seeing some great tweets coming through from all the different teams and players involved, especially after yesterday's events. And if you didn't catch yesterday's events, well then, don't worry, you got you sorted. LVP UK on YouTube. Go check out the VODs. There was some pretty interesting games. Surprising games, I think, is probably the best way to put it, based on the fact that it was 1st seed versus 8th seed, 7th seed versus 2nd seed. You don't really anticipate those matches to be as competitive as they were. And I think if you're the teams that won, we'll talk about who they are in just a second, then potentially you've got to reflect on how those games went.
Yeah, there's some reflection necessary based on the way that went. I'm sure the teams themselves know that and are already looking at improving.
Yeah,
let's semis.
Let's bring up the bracket because, you know, we're kind of hyping up the teams, but I think most people know who they are. Enclave 2-1 over Barrage, XL 2-1 over Hyperion. Enclave, you know, some reasonable reasoning that came down. Rift had wrist injuries, didn't want to play. Wasn't playing at 100%, so they brought in Prelude. Rift, you know, the secondary shot caller for the team after Haddo, a really huge impact in kind of being that voice of reason during the game. That the team kind of panicked when they didn't have Prelude. Mechanically great, had some fantastic team fighting times, but just wasn't quite able to bring that leadership quality that Rift has. And then XL, I think they'll definitely look over that series and see what happened, but Hyperion deceivingly good considering their 7th place. They've had some really good performances. So yeah, we'll have to see how that does happen. But they've made it through to the semi-finals, and then we'll find out who their opponents are later on tonight.
So I think, although we did see both of those series go 2-1, and they were the most mismatched, as we said, 1st versus 8th, 2nd versus 7th, in terms of seeding, it still ended on notes that the teams can be happy with. There were still both very clean games to close out in the third game.
Game 3 was very clean.
Yeah, from both XL and Enclave. Enclave just playing it so slow and methodically with Rift back in the top lane made it so much easier for them to control that, and then have the ability to use Rift's pressure topside to have the rest of the map make plays of their own. It made Monkers so much freer. It took the pressure off of Hardo, allowed him to shot call more effectively. And on the other side, we saw Excel, who we had a lot of doubts about after that second game. They came in and stepped up as well, and they proved that they can close out games cleanly. And you can imagine Ferndog in their ear yelling at them, no, you've got to close this out cleanly, or you're not eating tonight.
Just the backhand slap from No. I mean, I feel a little bit sorry for Demo. He kind of tweeted after the series that he ran to get his webcam because the possibility of a Hyperion interview, Winners interview was there, and he, sprained his ankle on the way. So feels bad, man. But I'm not sure that was the reason that they ended up losing the series. It just looked like XL came in and just played the way we've seen XL play most of the time throughout the Forge of Champions.
Playing Lee Sin with a sprained ankle, that's got to pretty hurt whenever you want to ult somebody. It's just like,
Interestingly enough, ankle injuries don't tend to affect your League of Legends play.
Why is that?
I don't know. I mean, I use my feet.
They're not playing League with leg sensors in virtual reality.
That's how I play League.
That would be really
fun.
And
I'm Gold 3.
That would actually be pretty
fun.
fun.
I would definitely do that.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right.
Gamescom's still going on. We're waiting for the League fighting game announcement.
Tonight, we've got some really good matchups. First up is Wind and Rain versus Diabolus, just in a short moment's time. Then following will be Misfits Academy versus M&M Gaming. After this, we will conclude the quarterfinals. We'll know what our semi-final matchups are, which is pretty exciting, of course, because all the players, they get a week off to start preparing for that, and then they come and play on the live stage, which is an entirely different environment from the online play we've had so far.
Yeah, I think live stages are always really fun to see how people fare, when they can actually look at their opponents in the eye. It's one of those things that you wish happened in solo queue so people would flame less or are kind of scared of it because they might flame more.
I don't think I want people seeing my webcam while I'm playing solo queue.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's not because of, the facial expressions, but the way you decide to play League of Legends
it's
in your bedroom.
Yeah, playing in your bedroom in an absolute mess.
Not quite as dressed as, dapper here.
Doritos stains halfway up your face.
I mean, you said it, my friend. Let's look towards our first matchup. It is going to be Wind and Rain versus Diabolus. A bit of history. These guys have only played each other once. It was back in the first qualifying tournament. Diabolus looked on hot form, beat Wind and Rain 3-0. And then since then, they haven't had the opportunity to get their rematch.
Of course, that was in the finals as well. That 3-0 for Diabolus was the only real strong performance, we have to say, across all four of the qualifying tournaments. Wind and Rain making the finals in that one and the semi-finals in the final two after being disqualified in the second. But during that series, although it was a long time ago, although Diabolus looked a lot stronger back then, they still had mostly the same roster all the way through, all of four of Forge of Champions, and now it's just changed. But the strategy was allow Flaxish to carry Wind through top lane, and then utilize Flaxish's advantage to then dive the towers and then make plays happen through that. But now the roster's changed up, and they've actually removed Zeph, who seemed to be one of the more weaker members and one of the more liability members of the team. Maybe that gives Flaxish the space to step up.
Yeah, you brought it up. For those who are unaware, there was a official ruling by Riot UK. Riot Brammers kind of posted a tweet longer to explain what happened. Essentially, Diabolus informed the Riot UK office that 2 players were going to be leaving the roster, and Riot, investigated, determined that this was out of the ownership's control. The rule set in the Forge of Champions is that you can only make 1 substitute throughout, roster change throughout the season, but due to the fact that this would affect their playoff performance, Riot essentially said, we will give you the opportunity to replace these 2 players as it was out of your control.
However, investment.
It has to be the 2 players that, in the mid lane and AD carry role. So that means that Zeph and Cookie have left the roster. Instead, Diabolus have brought in Balulu and M-Test. Not only that, they've also brought in Blummigan as a head coach for the team as well. So clearly there's some internal issues happening with the team for 2 players just to up and leave. That doesn't sound like a healthy, team environment for Diabolus, but potentially with Blummigan coming in as coach and 2 new players as well, this could be the chance for them to kind of show us why they were the first qualifying tournament champions.
Certainly, it seemed like they lacked a lot of the strategic elements, so I wonder if Blummigan's had the time to actually help that.
It's only been a little while since the LCL finished, of course. It was on Tornado Rocks. Not had too much time to act on it,
Yeah, and so it's all about, can they come up with a new strategy that isn't just, hey, we're going to dive towers in the early game. If you ward against us, we lose. Even sometimes they've gotten that play off and they've still ended up losing because they don't know what they're not able to effectively use their lead. So I still question the roster. I still, like, while yes, I agree that these might have been some weaker members that were changed, I wonder if they've actually changed up the strategy or not.
I do think that, you know, when we talked about Diabolus, especially in the earlier stages of the Forge of Champions, you had to give credit to Cookie and Anthrax in the bot lane, who just seemingly always won bot. Were getting the 2v2 kills without any jungle pressure coming through from NG, which allowed NG and Zeph to be that roaming force that allowed Flaxish to kind of get those winning matchups. However, lots of changes, you know, now Balulu and M-Test coming in. All Diabolus have to do and focus on is this one matchup, because you said it's not enough time potentially to really have immediate effect coming through from Bloomigan, but potentially it's enough to go, right, well, this is what Wind and Rain are doing, and if we can counter that one specific thing, then we get those 2 weeks to prepare for the semis and grand finals.
And even coming back to the point, this is 4th and 5th seed, so this should be pretty much the closest game you can get coming into this quarterfinal.
So with M-Test coming in and on Balulu, as you said, got to talk about quickly who these players are. You got Balulu, he's played in the 2nd tier in Turkey, and M-Test was actually at the EU Masters, played for SPG, the Meisterschaft organization, so they made it there by qualifying as one of the top Meisterschaft teams. So he's definitely got a lot of experience behind him and was on the only German team to actually win a game at that European Masters.
Yeah.
So
110, boys.
Woo! Yeah,
110.
It's
an accolade.
A little bit better than NA in Season 5 Worlds, at least, in Week 2. So. But the 3 members that you still have got Flaxish, strong top lane performances. Nagi, with his Nidalee actually showing up a couple times, going 5-1 last time these teams actually faced off in the early game. And Anthrax, I liked his Rakan, I liked his engage plays. So by keeping the 3 strongest performing members and removing Zeph, as I mentioned, one of the more weaker performing ones, does this free up Flaxish to make the plays and actually challenge Kerberos in the top lane?
I'd like to come back at the Flaxish, though, because we considered him one of the stronger players coming into the tournament, and he certainly was in Forge Champions 1. Since then, has been rather disappointing.
Definitely disappointing, but you got to say Kerberos has been as well.
Yeah, Kerberos probably has been as well, so potentially this does give him the room. One of them now gets the chance to step up, most likely.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that it wasn't Diabolus making this roster move to try and fix their problems. This was a forced move by the players. So I just want to make that note. Because, you know, it isn't something that they've, you know, specifically gone out to do. This is 2 players leaving the roster.
Yeah, this wasn't a plan. This is why Riot investigated it, to make sure it wasn't just a plan. They did actively have to make this change.
Yep, so we're into picks and bans here, and you can see they have gone very quickly. Galio, Olaf, and Rise coming through from Wind and Rain, and we are going to get that Zillion as well as the
Zillion, Akatsune, always getting that target.
Absolutely, he's kind of demanded it, but also the Jin and Camille as well. So
Bax's best champion's Jin, Kerberos' best champion is that Camille, Akatsune's best champion, but it does leave up the LeBlanc. Fair to say that Crossman has been very strong on. Is not really what you want to be picking on Blue's side, to be fair. But still the opportunity's there for him to go for it if he feels the matchup is safe for him. Yeah,
Varus locked in here. We've got quite a reasonable roster here from Wind and Rain, but they're kind of a team that haven't really shown just yet. You know, the qualifying tournament 1 was really their best performance this entire year against a confused Diabolus. You know, potentially a Diabolus that haven't got all their jigsaw pieces together and have them framed on the wall. This is the time to really step up and kind of shut them down as soon as possible.
Yeah, and I'm really interested to see, coming out from Wind and Rain, if you see Akatsune return to the likes of the Vel'Koz. You return to what they're comfortable on, because they've shown that he becomes a massive issue, and also it gives them massive lane priority too.
Okay, so one of the things I want to actually talk about with Wind and Rain is the fact that they have got these 3 like grassroots UK players. They've got Kerberos, Nulti, and Fax, who have all come through the Null scene, through ESL Prem up to where we are now. And Nulti actually not really showing up much until Scouting Grounds, where him and Fax put up great performances, and they're starting to get noticed a lot more, and that's why Wind and Rain picked them up. So definitely a team that has something to prove going forward, and they want to prove that they can get further than that semi-final berth.
Yeah, I mean, when Fax kind of entered the UK scene, it was definitely a really strong and promising AD carry. But
I mean, when he was the team I was coaching him on, Bulldog, it started to fall apart. He was the hard carry for the team. He was the one member who kept stepping up consistently.
Didn't quite have the performance that he wanted. So now it's his chance to really kind of come back into it and show that he deserves to be recognized amongst the top here in the UK and Ireland scene. Here we go. We got a Lulu pick coming through.
By Lulu potentially?
Yeah.
Or is it Anthrax going for the Lulu? That's the question.
I mean, it's a decent counter pick to LeBlanc. When she jumps in, you polymorph her. So I do assume that is the counter pick to that pick. And of course, LeBlanc.
I mean, his name is literally Balulu.
Yeah, I was saying it's probably for Balulu, but Anthrax, they can flex it now, which is kind of nice, but yeah.
But of course, the LeBlanc Crossman's comfort pick, so he's going to know how to deal with this one, and he has got the cleanse as well to try and deal with that one.
At this point, you are going to focus your bands towards the role that you feel you can kind of punish the most. Akatsune's hero pool, a champion pool, has been something that kind of has always been the target in these picks and bans.
Vel'Koz. No. Vel'Koz, I actually expect Vel'Koz to be the pick here. I think he can burst through an Ashe very quickly.
Okay. We'll have to see if
we'll see what they lock first, and then they're probably going to respond based on that.
There's a lot of utility with that bot lane as well.
If it is a Lulu Ashe bot lane, we might actually see something else come through, like the support pick with Tahm Kench kind of hovered here.
That would be a great pick into the Vel'Koz as well, because the Vel'Koz wants to try and burst down Ashe, and then you just eat her up, and he has to burn through the Tahm Kench health bar and the shield as well to get back on top of her.
Interestingly, Akatsune has actually picked Vel'Koz into Tahm Kench previously.
Yeah, but so it's the ability to remove that assassination potential from your ADC is at least a little bit more healthy.
Yeah.
Well, that Vel'Koz does come through. Nice prediction coming as well.
Cho'Gath.
Triforce and Cho'Gath, it's been a while, but I mean, I really enjoyed that one. Triforce Cho'Gath just destroys towers, take a demolish as well instead of bone plating if you get a decent lane, but so Aurelia up against it.
Yeah, we assume he's going to be going up against Aurelia unless we see some shenanigans here, and this is a fairly decent matchup for Cho'Gath in the early game, because he obviously has the E to help push the wave, do that percentage health damage, and the Feast keeps him healthy as well, keeps the mana up, so he should be pressuring Flaxish out early, but we know Aurelia, what she wants to have is that big late game teamfight impact where she's bouncing between targets. So if they can start to pin down Kerberos when you see him hit level 6, start to make plays happen around then with the Sejuani, then get Flaxish going, it can roll over them like we've seen players like Shikari and Rift do.
One thing that I think is really important to note is that Diabolus' Zeph previously had good roaming plays, but kind of struggled to hold his own against the mid laners, often was dying in lane. If Balulu can kind of weather the storm against Crossman's signature LeBlanc here, and then provide that hyper carry utility onto the Ashe, onto M-Test, the new face for Diabolus in that AD carry position as well, then you actually have a pretty scary, entry for this roster.
The one thing that kind of worries me, though, from Diabolus looking at this is it looks like you've picked very confident picks, and last time we saw Diabolus go in overconfident, they're planning on diving early towers. They've taken the triple TP to do so as well. It looks like they're setting up for the exact same plays that have previously been countered by the likes of Wind and Rain.
And is this the coach strategy where you just go in assuming everybody can play the champion optimally, and everybody, like you've got the equal player strength in every role, so you've picked a good composition with a clear win condition, but if they just get rolled over in the 1v1, that doesn't matter. You can see they're running 3 teleports. So they clearly want to be able to play the map.
Yep.
They clearly want to be able to make things happen around the map with that. But if it's a team that doesn't have the synergy and doesn't have the shot calling necessary to make those plays happen consistently and effectively with members buying into it, then the triple teleport just loses all its value.
That's a relatively good point.
And I think one of the other things I'd like to note about Diabolus' comp is that if it starts to fall behind, your damage is lacking.
Oh, hell yeah.
It is Ashe Aurelia is your main sources of damage.
So Aurelia takes a while to get there. Ashe definitely takes a while to get there, but can do the damage if she does start to get a lead.
But even looking at both of those, they're relatively low range in comparison to what they're up against. So if they start falling behind, they get chunked out before they can make those plays happen.
I'm definitely looking at Fax to try and become a late game damage threat, but generally what we've seen is Fax becomes irrelevant because Akatsune is doing so much damage in those later stages where he's got picks like the Vel'Koz.
I wouldn't quite say irrelevant.
Yes,
but
less
certainly,
relevant.
Certainly overshadowed, I think is fair.
Overshadowed is probably a better word for it because
I mean, it's also just because the champion pool is so strange for Akatsune. Part of that is you're already focusing on the pick and then he executes on it.
In fact, he's much more used to playing with tank supports. It's interesting seeing how he's adapted to this, but he has kind of taken that more supporting role where the team generally plays with Nulty wanting to pressure the other 2 lanes. They kind of absorb that 2v3 pressure in the bot side, and Fax and Akitsune just stay alive until the point where they can come online, and it allows Kerberos, it allows Crossman to try and get advantages if Nolty can give them.
Interestingly, this is one of the few teams coming out from Diabolus now that actually prioritize the Sejuani over the Gragas, especially knowing that Nolty is such a comfortable Gragas now with Predator. Honestly, think it's almost buffed Gragas in a sense.
Yeah.
I think it was a bit of a strange draft call to do that, and I do kind of come back to this seems to be they drafted what they're comfortable on and then seeing what happens later. I wonder, is all I'm saying, if this was the smart call. If Nolty ends up showing up in the early game, do Diabolus fall apart?
I don't think it's them choosing Sejuani over Gragas in terms of that's the winning jungle matchup. I think it's what Sejuani provides to the team in terms of Sejuani has the pick potential with that long-range Glacial Prison, Ashe with her ultimate, Lulu with the polymorph. There's all the ability to try and pick somebody off out of position and catch them out. So it's just buying further into that rather than the Gragas, who's more about making a play off of his own back.
And there's something to be said about the fact that if you have been struggling internally as a roster, not seeing eye to eye, you've had to make this huge roster change before the playoffs has happened. You need to be playing comfortably. Going out there and doing something insanely different is probably about as counterproductive, even though, the most logical thing when you're failing is to make a big change, right? But at this point, if Diabolus can do what they feel is most comfortable, do what comes naturally to them, and succeed in it, then that puts them in a premier position coming into the series.
And we've talked a lot about what Diabolus, the issues they had and stuff. I feel like, we haven't focused so much on what Wind and Rain have done well.
Right.
They've consistently had solid performances. We've talked about how Crossman's locked. And coming back on your point, you were just talking about how important comfort is. Wind and Rain almost exemplify that in their play. They pick all these picks that are generally out of meta, knowing, look, we can play these. We play the lane. We know how to team fight with them as well. And they've shown up as this really strong team fighting force previously, even taking on Enclave quite effectively.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Wind and Rain's results are kind of a strange phenomenon throughout the Forge of Champions. Obviously, in the qualifying tournament 1, they made it to the finals, but they weren't able to find even a win against Diabolus. In the qualifying tournament 2, they did get disqualified due to a rule set breach. Due to accounts, the ones they were using. It was a really minor infraction, but it was one. Qualifying tournament 3, though, they managed to beat the Misfits Academy, and then they had to play against XL, who were just kind of on a tear. And then the qualifying tournament 4, like you mentioned, they did take it to Enclave. It was a 1-2 loss, but then surprisingly, they then beat Nuclear Storm Gaming 2-1. So that kind of showed like a strange inconsistency that they could go up against the team that has come first and really be competitive, but then one of the open division teams comes in and they struggle against them.
I mean, we've seen Excel do the same though, so is that a fair judgment to count them out, because we've seen people struggle against open teams before?
It could just potentially be the unknown factor, especially with Enclave. They've been around for a long time. You can study them. It's time to find out, though, in this quarterfinal, who will be making it through to the semis to play up against Enclave as well. We're going to jump on to the Rift here. Of course, Wind and Rain versus Diabolus, 4th versus 5th in the Forge of Champions, looking to try and take it home to Barcelona.
Of course, it's important to mention we've talked about Bloomigan coming in for Diabolus and how that can make an impact having a coach there. We didn't mention that Sean coming in for Wind and Rain as well. They've brought in a coach of their own, having experience in the Meisterschaft himself. It means that Reclamation was their interim coach, their analyst, has stepped back, but having that coach in themselves now might give them the ability to have changed some things up within the team and maybe be a bit more clean strategically.
Yeah, it's something they recently announced, but also then kind of cited that he's been in the team for a little while. They just haven't announced it yet. But that's really important. If he's been there for a little while, that means he's had the time to have the impact in that coach role. And look at this, Flaxish already trying to bully Kerberos out of the lane. Kerberos, one of those UK-based top laners that a lot of people kind of had a little bit of hype around, but so far in the Forge of Champions hasn't found his niche.
So yeah, he's been sitting below those top 3 quite comfortably, where you see it's Shikari and Rift, and of course Sendo just below them. And Kerberos and Flaxish have been roughly the same tier, apart from in that Forge of Champions 1, where Flaxish looks so much more comfortable. What we've been saying though is, this is the Giants LCS former Flaxish, where he is we know he can perform at a high level in the top lane. If he is comfortable enough, and if he is given the space to do so by the rest of his team, can he just roll over the top of Kerberos, like we saw Sendo do, like we saw Shikari and Rift do as well?
I think a lot of that has been called into question as well, as we've seen him, struggle to perform. And a lot of this comes down to the way Diabolus play. It's very solo play focused. There's not a huge amount of strategy to it. And I mean, that feels harsh, but realistically, when you compare the way they've been playing against teams, they've been struggling. And now you've given some of the comfort picks away to Wind and Rain. And naturally, with a poke lane like this, you're seeing the priority take over.
But I think it's fair to say as well, at the same time, the meta's kind of shifted away from Flaxis, where he was playing things like Renekton, he was playing these more aggressive top laners. Yeah, Yasuo top, exactly. And now it's kind of moved into more of it's either tanks or bruisers, and that's pretty much it in terms of, like, you play Darius, but you're playing it into somebody picking a tank, and it relies on your opponents completely buying out of those matchups.
Yeah. I love how confidently Wind and Rain are zoning Diabolus' bot lane off of this minion wave.
And honestly, part of this is you saw NG walk through mid lane to topside. They know exactly where he is. So it was a bit of a strange move there from the jungle to kind of give away his own positioning and basically announce to Wind and Rain, hey, you can keep pushing without being punished.
Yeah, it was one of the stranger paths I think you see junglers make.
He was prioritizing the scuttle, but I don't think it was worth it.
No, it gives so much information to this bot lane. One thing that Diabolus' bot lane, with Cookie and Anthrax, I feel like they were one of the top, winning points for Diabolus, at least in the laning phase. But
now, to me that most of their advantage came from the top lane at the time. So it was when that started to fall off, they really struggled.
You have to also credit Dicey's point, though, because, yeah, a lot of the focus was then put top lane because Cookie and Anthrax didn't need the help bot.
Yep. Yeah,
I guess that's fair as well, because they started to have to help top lane out more. It took that pressure away from Cookie and Anthrax in the bot lane without the jungle being there.
Part 2, though, is M-Test now comes into the roster. Anthrax has to find his synergy with this new Swedish AD carry, and that might be something that they kind of are still in the baby stages of doing.
One thing I want to say here is Nulty base really early to get those Predator boots, because he wants to make something happen in the early game. He wants to make a play and find a way into one of these lanes. Rushing those Predators as soon as possible and still able to keep up with NG in terms of CS has been pretty decent for him. He just needs to make something happen with it.
5 minutes in, no kills just yet. Seems like...
See, they're poking him low, and perhaps setting up for that dive around that level 6 mark could be great for them, especially when you've got Nulty with that stopwatch.
And not only that, Nulty's dragon control throughout the entirety of the Forge of Champions has been spot on. It's something that Wind and Rain has always had as a win condition, and I mean, when you have an Infernal Drake right down there as your first Drake spawn, it's something that you're going to be looking at as a team.
And Nulty, while he's not, on one of the very top teams with Wind and Rain, they're probably in a comfortable 4th spot right now. He has been noticed by a lot of people. He's been this surprisingly standout jungler, especially it's so hard to stand out as jungler when a lot of it will rely on your lane priority when it comes to competitive, but consistently players have been calling him out as someone who's particularly good, but now it's NG.
NG in the top side, and Kerberos, well, he has a flash. Does he use it? Great double knock-up. Will save his life. Gets under that turret nice and safely, but he's just used his teleport to get up to the top side, so that's pretty punishing.
So one thing I want to touch on here is we can see how effective running the corrupting potion is in the top lane, whereas we've talked about how Cho'Gath has a decent laning phase, gets those advantages off of the back of his E, and how effective it is in the lane. Running this corrupting potion and running the Time Warp Tonic on top of having Conqueror has just allowed Flaxish to do so much damage and really pressure Kerberos out to the point where he had to go back to base, and he has fallen behind quite far in CS.
Look at this. Wind and Rain immediately, knowing that the jungler was up top just recently,
as well.
Immediately goes in to try and find this Drake, and they are going to be able to secure it. Diabolus have kind of responded in presence, but not quickly enough. First Infernal Drake goes to Wind and Rain.
So they've got to look at the fact that they have got their top lane advantage, so they can try and get vision around the Rift Herald, around the spawn of that. But for now, because they're losing mid and bot, they lose all the pressure. They can't contest that dragon at all. And it means that it's a fairly easy pickup for Nulty, who, as you said, keeping up that dragon pressure he's had for the entire championship.
Yeah, it's been really important for Wind and Rain, and like you mentioned, due to the fact of the timing, you don't have that Rift Herald that you can then contest to kind of trade.
They will have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is the perfect start for Wind and Rain as far as macro is concerned, because you're not trading anything for this objective. You are literally just getting an Infernal Drake for free.
This is so painful now for Kerberos, though. Look at that. The Tiamat now completed from Flaxish, and he has to itemize towards what we assume will be the Righteous Glory. It puts him in a situation where he can't really compete with the clear, he can't compete with the trading, and he's just going to be pinned down until he becomes this big tank later on.
Uh-oh, Crossman.
Maybe
Still
in
no
trouble.
level 6 from NG, though.
Slow. Here comes NG, comes in. Nulty with the counter game. Balulu under the turret. Going to use that wild growth onto NG to make sure he survives the turret dive. So far, so good. It's just everyone walking back.
Balulu has to blow the flash there, though, because as he gets knocked down the tower, very close to getting hit by that ethereal chain, which would have spelled his death had he been hit by it. So needs to burn the flash. Ends up being just summoner for summoner in the mid lane.
And now it's another dive top, though.
Going to be Kerberos stunned on up.
Oh, really nice.
NG going to take the turret. Kerberos, well, he's in a bit of trouble. Flaxus, can he find
kill.
it? Kill. It is found, but in the mid lane, Crossman finds the first blood off screen onto Balloon.
No, it was on screen.
Wait, what?
Crossman roamed up and
I didn't even see it.
NG under tower. NG was tanking tower for far too long. Crossman just roams up with his mid lane priority.
Yeah, we'll see it in the replay here.
You see it here, NG, he comes in, but the mid lane priority is lost. He wants to go up to top lane to make something happen, but without Crossman being in vision, they make this play far too aggressively. As you see, he keeps tanking this tower, and Kerberos just isn't going down, so free first blood for him. And Flaxus, he finally gets the kill back, but at that point, it's already a 1-for-1, and they've lost the first blood.
And this comes back to our continuous point about Diabolus and their game plan. It's always about Flaxus, it's always about roaming top lane and trying to find those early advantages. Now Flaxus is in the bot lane trying to make something happen. Teleport will come through from Balulu, and Fax is just in so much trouble. He'll go down. Flaxus able to find the kill. Diabolus able to make that map rotation.
I like actually what Fax does there. He holds onto his flash because he burned the cleanse to try and escape. If he botted his flash as well with that level 6 already hit from M-Test, you know the Ashe ultimate's going to be coming through consistently, trying to kill you. With that play at bot lane available, so what he does is he holds onto the flash. He can try and outplay it next time, but does go down on the play. So good TP down from Flaxus. He's getting even more of an advantage to snowball up top lane.
Currently, Wind and Rain start to lose some of that pressure that they generated through Crossman's fantastic cross-map play on that LeBlanc. She's so quick to get there and read it like a book. Diabolus' game book hasn't really changed over the entire season, and potentially now, through that first play, we can kind of get an idea that it may be just the same thing. Here it is.
Three-man collapse.
Three-man collapse. That's going to be NG coming in. Nolty's trying to find the split up. Crossman's here as well. Rift Herald's involved, and it's currently fighting in favor of Diabolus. Balulu, can he get involved anymore is the question. Doesn't look like they want to go any further here. Wind and Rain get forced back.
Again, just flash for flash. The three-man knock-up from Kerberos buys Nolty that free disengage, but it does mean that this top lane will be under threat. They can push this huge wave in.
Turret will go down in the bot side. Wind and Rain are able to get that first brick solo onto the Varus. Nolty now going to be dove upon. NG's here to help on out. Nolty not long for this world, and Flaxish going to get his third kill of the game. Huge stuff for Diabolus. They will pick up this turret.
And this is more reminiscent of what we saw last time these teams faced off. Flaxish getting big advantages top lane, and they use the advantage to then just send 5 men up to the top side and try and garner an even larger advantage. But we see on the bot side, they do lose the first tower. Fax and Akatsune, they're still free to push, and they're getting a lot more tower damage down.
Oh, that's a lot of tower damage. Let's just scroll up and see how much they've done, because that's got to be starting to tick away at this point. Just dead. Lovely stuff. That's
now there's
huge.
No advantage for war.
At this point, Gold now swinging back over to Wind and Rain. Next dragon will be Infernal as well. Look at that. This is a worrying time for Diabolus because they are, getting Flaxish involved, making sure he's really strong.
See, I'm jealous. Only the games you cast get the surfing penguin.
They don't have a penguin there. You need to have a penguin ward on Drake, all right?
Exactly. There's no penguin ward on Drake. What are they doing?
Don't hate the player, hate the game. I hate the game player. It is the player who gets the ward skin. There it is.
Here we go.
Look at him.
It's Coma.
It's Coma, making notes about the UK scene for the inevitable
but
2020 SKT UK roster.
As you could see from that image, Coma has no vision. That's why SKT didn't make Worlds.
That's why they're coming over to the UK in 2020. Faker will make his comeback. You mark my words, my friend.
It's we always had the line from I remember the tweet from Alfari. It's yes, Faker may have won Worlds twice, but has he won the ESL UK Premiership?
Yeah, he hasn't. Right, exactly. Ox better than Faker. Crossman, though, dodging out some ultimates. Here comes the rest of the team to save on up. Oh, it's a huge knock-up. Balulu's dead to Akasune's Death Ray. NG slowed down, and it's going to be Fax flashing forward to find that kill. Knock up onto Anthrax. They're looking for more. CC luck for days, and Anthrax goes down for the double kill. Wind and Rain are on a rampage.
See, Diabolus known for 5-manning top lane, 5-manning bot lane. How about you just 5-man mid lane, Wind and Rain? taking a play out of the opposing team's book, and now they're going to get Dragon off the back of it.
Infernal Drake make it 2. Wind and Rain are looking clean AF right now. And with that, Drake, they take the gold lead, they take the objective lead, and Diabolus' win conditions start to lessen.
So what we saw is they wanted to get an early lead for Flaxish. They wanted to push him up towards push the lead up towards the top side. But with the lead that Fax was able to build, with the lead that Crossman was able to build, they are able to make plays around the mid lane. They're able to make plays around the bot lane. They've got these 2 dragons. They've got this huge objective lead. And it means that they can get the rotational advantage for plays like this, where they catch out Balulu, they catch out NG, and Flaxish just has very little impact.
Absolutely none. We've talked about how much impact Nolty's been having. Right there. This play really comes off the back of his presence and the
Bounce house.
Bounce house, yeah. I mean, this knockup comp is disgusting. Nolty can continue having impactful plays like that, then it's going to be very difficult for Diabolus to really do anything with this Ashe, with this Lulu as well.
But this is what their top lane advantage has netted them. We said already, the fact that they lost the bot lane advantage means they couldn't contest the dragons, but they had the top lane winning handily, which means they get the Rift Hold. It was pretty much guaranteed from about 10 minutes earlier.
This point, where do Wind and Rain put their pressure? Their advantages have come through the counter-ganking ability so far from Nolty and the rest of the team. We haven't really seen them do anything super proactively other than their, I guess, bot to... well, everything's just been reactive. It's been reactive plays from Wind and Rain.
But looking at the start of the game, what we said was NG on the Sejuani. They chose the Sejuani over the Gragas because of the pick potential. They chose it so they could get the ability to pick people off out of position. But instead, it's been Nolty doing what Sejuani normally does, but better. His ultimates have been on point consistently, separating members, and also having the advantages to be able to knock people out of position on his own. He doesn't need to dive hard. He can force somebody to make their own misposition rather than relying on the opponents making mispositions to capitalize. So Nolty has had a strong early game. He's been doing quite a lot for his team, and I'm loving what he's been able to bring to the early game.
Wind and Rain at the 15-minute mark now, looking to try and push these side lanes in and start pressuring towards that mid lane potentially. We've got mid lane is up in top, bot lane is down in mid, and the top lane is currently battling out. Really cross map. Lots of pressure though, clearly towards that top side of the map where teams will eventually be wanting to try and get control over the dragon area in about 4 minutes time.
And so that's just been the fact that they've had this pressure bot lane has generally been what's allowed them to take those dragons, but now we see the lane swaps come through. Flaxish is going to be in this bot side. Again, he is the pressure point. He is the saving grace for Diabolus. If he can start getting advantage, pushing Kerberos under his tower, that's where they get the vision control around the river, and you can see already they've got those 2 pink wards up near the pixel brush. They can get contest this dragon rather happily, and they've already given over 2 Infernals. They can start to get themselves back into the objective game.
Mountain Drake going to be next. If Wind and Rain are able to pick it up, then it's a very scary time for Diabolus. 2 of those Infernals, and then an objective-taking presence as well. NG shows his face towards the bot side, and Kerberos going to just play things safe for now. Doesn't want to get turret dove. Nolty also coming down to the bot side as well, just in case a counter gank is necessary. In fact, the whole team is. It's going to be an entire Wind and Rain roster forcing Diabolus back just through the rotation that was coming from the mid lane.
And the fact that they get this rotation down into the river with advantage, with pressure, they can get control of the vision around the river, and they force M-Test actually quite low on that play. Crossman starting to come online with that Luden's Echo completed.
Yeah, this is scary time. So M-Test, this mid lane tower, going to now be the focus of Wind and Rain due to the fact that M-Test needs to go back to base. Does have the teleport, which means that he can recall.
4 Mercury threads on the side of Diabolus already. They respect this LeBlanc so much at this point in the game. Of course, a lot of magic damage does come out of the Varus as well, but you can understand with all the CC that comes out in addition, and the Vel'Koz on top of it, how much they need to build these Mercury threads, and how much they need that extra magic resistance early on.
We've talked about Crossman's assassination potential. It's always been one of the stronger points of Wind and Rain.
So because of that chip damage they got on the bot lane tower, they can drop the Rift Herald. Just the charge is going to finish off that tower, so it gives them the rotational advantage. Aurelia gets the early timing to leave bot lane. Now Kerberos still has to get rid of that Rift Herald, so it means they now get to walk into the enemy jungle. They get to group up mid and control the game while Kerberos is still pinned down.
NG over the wall. He's going to find Akasuni, stuns him up. Flaxage is here. That's a very dead Vel'Koz. Nothing Nolty can do. That explosive casket wasted on trying to save his support, and now that gives Diabolus control.
This is what Diabolus wanted. Using that Rift Herald play, they can get into the enemy jungle and they can make advantage of a missed position, you have to say, from Akasune. When you see that Rift Herald dropped, you need to be backing far off.
Oh, no.
Unless you've got clear vision.
Fax missing that ultimate from Varus
it's
as
a
well.
zoning ult.
Yep, they're really zoned right now here. Crossman may have found NG. Gonna definitely look to lay some damage, but Balulu was there, the wild growth ready.
And so, again, it's just no Diabolus. Oh!
What the heck was that?
NG gets busted. He got chunked low already by the LeBlanc, but now Fax.
I mean, Fax got bursted as well. Shutdown comes through from Flaxish. This is just some sloppy, random play. Everyone's just getting caught out. That's 3 picks in a row, and you can't really blame anyone but the players who are mispositioning.
And so we see up in this, back in the play on Akasune, yeah, he just gets hit by the full CC combo and completely caught out of position. But are we going to get the replay of the zoning ultimate? Is that what we're looking for here?
No, that was going to be a replay of NG's death as well.
We got a replay just to see Fax miss an ultimate. Seems great.
Poor Fax. At this point, though, when both teams are making mistakes like that, that's not really the place you want to be. Of course, it is going to be Diabolus who get the premier over that.
He's on half HP and he's trying to contest the pink ward. Ends up getting caught out by the 2 members, and he knew Crossman was there just moments before. You can't afford to contest there. And on the other side, we just see on the drive-by as Flaxish performs a drive-by, completely taking down Fax.
Yeah, in a half second, it felt big chunk coming through from Fax here on this Varus. And look at this, the Mountain Drake being started up by Diabolus.
You got to say, he's a smart boy. He's not building lethality.
Ooh, Nolty's there? Okay. Does he get the smite still is a question. Does he tempt it is another. Nope. Going to be allowed the Mountain Drake going over to Diabolus here.
2 dragons to 1, but it does still have war with this mid lane control. It's zoning them off quite effectively. They have to take the long way round. This is going to mean that they get a roam off to contest the vision of their own. They have to do something with this now. They have to prove that they gave up the dragon for a reason.
Yep. And right now it's showing that they can just kind of walk up towards this tower and take it down. There's not much that Diabolus can do to stop it from happening, but it is going to be the engage coming through. Where's that Ashe ult? Doesn't come out, and the explosive casket knocks Diabolus all the way back, clearly not wanting to commit to that play.
See, this is the common caster trap. It's explosive cask, like a cask. A casket is the name of a coffin.
Yeah, well, it will be M-Test's coffin.
Yeah.
Or Balulu's, as it's kind of really been, actually.
It's something that tilts me a little to hear, but it's fine.
Cool, I'll continue doing it then. Thank you for showing me your weaknesses here.
No. Why are you doing this?
Haha, I have him where I want him. Baron.
Baron is on the cards now. It's spawned, so we definitely can look at that with your one-word segue.
My one-word segue is good. Turret.
Oh wow, this is actually not a bad segue. They are taking the tower.
Flaxish. Scary.
You've upgraded. It's a 2-word segue now.
Play by play. Say word. Word. Good.
Me play by play. Me handoff. But we see that the fact that they keep on getting zoned off of this mid lane tower, the wave clear is very relevant here for Diabolus, but they want to go in.
Anthrax tries to save NG, gets tagged right down to half HP. Kerberos, no, Balulu coming back into the mid lane here to make sure that Diabolus are ready for a fight if one were to occur. Minion wave has been pushed up to this tower here. A big, fat Cho'Gath is charging his way towards the fight just to say hi.
He's starting to actually come online. That you can see he's got that. He's got the Righteous Glory completed now, so he can start chasing people down. He can start slowing the front line with that mini Randuins. So he's going to be able to try and at least deny Flaxish away onto the back line, or try and chase down and keep M-Test pinned down. But he is going to be kited quite easily, you have to say, at this point in the game, with Anthrax available with Bolulu and M-Test. There's just so many slows for him to charge through. You need to see him get a couple more items before it really becomes relevant.
We don't need minions to take down this turret.
He's got Godzilla, it's fine.
Wind and Rain They find the inn, and they are going to break open that mid lane tower.
Yeah, just off of the reset from Diabolus, they needed to reset after they saw the engage happen in the jungle. So, just going to get the tower, going to capitalize, and now we see Wind and Rain. They have to get a reset off here. They have to now spend some gold and get back onto the map before they lose anything major.
Worth noting that it doesn't feel like MTES has come online yet. The only carry threat that Diabolus have, keeping Wind and Rain from just storming into the base, storming into the Baron pit, is this very fed Irelia. Teleport is coming though from her in Pacific. Akasuni flashes away. That's going to be Anthrax on the front line. Flaxish looking for the engage. Oh, NG gets knocked into the team fight. Maybe not where you want him. Crossman looking for NG, looking to trade, but Anthrax now says, we will get out of here. I don't know about that because Kerberos is charging on through. Anthrax will be going down. It's Fax to find the kill. Flatfish now going away. Whoa, that's 2. That's going to be a nom 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 onto NG as well. 2 for nothing. Diabolus, they were the one who wanted this. Well, they lose 2 of their members here. Wind and Rain can continue this pressure game in the top side. It's not long for the world, this tower here. Diabolus will have to fall back.
Diabolus, they push too far. They've only got the 4 members there, and they push directly back into the 4 members of Wind and Rain. And when Crossman arrives, it allows them to turn. M-Test still took another 5-10 seconds to get back into the play. So it allows Wind and Rain to get those couple kills, get the tower. And look at this, they're starting to get a comfortable lead. They're starting to look like they can come online as a composition and get this death ball working.
Yeah, no, this is rough play from Diabolus, as we'll see on the replay in just a second, but clearly they felt like they were the ones who could make this rotation quickly enough.
See, it's around this point you think, NG can get in on Akitsune, we can get 1 kill. But when you see Crossman jump out of the brush, that's where you need to just run for the hills. You need to be gone. You can't continue on the play. So they turn around, but it's already too late as the chain of corruption lands. Anthrax is caught out, but they keep hovering around trying to protect Anthrax. You need to run. You've got 4 members. MTES still not quite there. And they get caught out. 2 members go down, and they lose the tower.
Yeah, not good. Not good stuff here. A minute on this Drake. Another mountain to come in just a little bit. But we do have that Baron still threatening, and Wind and Rain have been in a pretty dominant position for what feels like the last 10 minutes here. Diabolus constantly being the ones making the proactive play, but Wind and Rain's ability to react perfectly to what they've been putting out has meant that Diabolus have never been able to get into this game. Flaxish on the other side of the wall, but has Anthrax to be able to swallow him up if necessary. That laser to try and slow down will not be able to catch Flaxish out.
He's got all that magic resistance now, as you can see in his build. He's got the recurve bow and the Negatron. Like, he's building towards Wit's End on top lane Aurelia. So he wants to shred through the magic resistance of the opposing team, set up the Lulus, and set up himself to be able to just try and shred through these tanks.
NG gets the ward down, but he has already died trying to clear out vision already. Not a mistake that you would want to make twice, especially at this 25.5-minute mark when the Baron is being threatened consistently by Wind and Rain. Flaxish, he's looking for Akasuni, but isn't quite able to land the stun. It's actually a Cloud Drake. We've been lied to. Jebaited. Oh, NG. Okay.
Well, he was in vision when he did that as well, so that's not going to go unpunished, and they desperately want to capitalize. Like, that didn't happen. Nothing happened. We didn't burn a stopwatch. Let's just all in engage, guys, and then miss everything. You saw that was a full Smithy. It was right, like, a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. It hits something. He sends it right down the middle. Hits absolutely nothing. Now, because they've blown all their engage, it gives Wind and Rain a full path onto Baron.
Holy moly! Without the Sejuani ult, without that Ash arrow, they are going straight on in towards this Baron pit, looking to force the fight on Diabolus. When they do come around the corner, Crossman, well, he's going to be able to escape for now from Flaxish. The Baron gets dropped on down.
Fax misses the chain of corruption again. It was on a knocked up target who's completely not moving, and he misses it. This is unfortunate. It's a tale of missed ultimates both ways, and it's costing them a lot, as that would have been a great engage point, but now they're trying to find it now. Here.
Going to be M-Test swallowed on up. I think he took the damage, though. Going to get spat on out. Nolty looking for the engage. Doesn't quite do what they want. Flaxish going to be on the front line. Wild Growth knocks him up. Nolty taking some damage. The laser onto NG, chunking Wind and Rain. They're not confident to just re-engage just yet. Crossman not able to find the range necessary to be able to chain up that Ash. But they can move down to this Drake because it is very unlikely it gets contested.
And of course that Warmog's healing Kerberos back up to full. He's going to be able to get into this Dragon, and he can still be an effective frontline. This is why you buy this item. It's so you can go in hard in a fight, go low, walk it back out, and you get immediately back to full HP. You can keep going. You can just keep being the tanking the damage, and this is exactly what you want to do on a champion like Cho'Gath. He gets such a large model size. You're basically there to stop skill shots hitting anybody but you.
Have to talk about NG this game, because it hasn't been a strong performance from the Sejuani here. 1-4 and 2, and just constant mistakes, just unnecessary, unforced errors that Wind and Rain are just going to continue to capitalize on top of here. It's not to say that he's the reason that Diabolus are behind in this game, but you'd have to feel with a stronger jungle presence like Nolty's been putting out, it would be a far closer affair than it currently feels.
The thing is, he clearly tried to make things happen in the early game. We saw the top lane dive where he wanted to go in and allow Flaxish to get a big enough advantage to maybe get the tower, maybe just snowball that advantage, but they lost the first top lane tower because of the play they made, where NG gets caught out and dies for first blood. They get consistently caught out of position. And NG, even though he wants to make the plays happen, he's going too hard in for it. And that's where he gets caught out. He flashes in.
He's going to play onto Fax, but the arrow misses. Can they capitalize even more? No. Chain does go out, like you mentioned. That's going to be the disengage potential from Wind and Rain burnt. At this point, can Diabolus find any more is the question. Kerberos is wanting to get involved onto this fight, looking for the knock-up, going to land it onto NG. Nolty looking, huge knockback, M-Test is dead! And now this is going to be Wind and Rain looking for more. They find Anthrax as well. There's no bot lane for the Devils, and Wind and Rain are heading over to the Baron.
And so this is the thing, when you're up against the pick composition and they blow the Ash Arrow, they blow the Glacial Prison trying to go in on you, they suddenly have no re-engage tools, they have no pick potential. It's just you able to re-engage at any point you want. But Diabolus, they don't respect that. They keep playing so far forward, even when they've blown all these ultimates. And once again, they got caught out and they die for it.
That is just the story of this game, has been failed engage turns negative net profit for Diabolus. Wind and Rain haven't started up the Baron yet because they think they can find more. Diabolus potentially out of position here, Balulu. I think he will escape. Let's have a look at the replay here coming through.
Here the Righteous Glory into the front line. You get the slow off.
Oh, it's just so nice.
Really, really nice explosive cask into the life form disintegration ray, and it just means that M-Test has no time to even flash out to use anything, and he just dies. He goes down so quickly. That means that Wind and Rain, they net themselves a few kills, but they don't get the Baron off the back of it. They don't capitalize well enough around the map, and they end up just buying their time. They want to get a better engage than that. They want to kill NG and perhaps Flaxish as well before they really go for that Baron.
So far, NG hasn't been showing his presence. M-Test is struggling to hit those Ash Arrows, and Nolty is just continuously being the champion for Wind and Rain here on this Gragas. His ability to counter-engage, re-engage has just been so nice.
Yikes. Okay, so Fax has built Infinity Edge with 0% crit chance.
Okie dokie.
That's a bit of a yikes. So you want to be building the Runan's Hurricane before you get the Infinity Edge, clearly, because you need to double the crit chance, otherwise it's just a stat ineffective item. But we see Crossman maybe caught out.
I mean, he's LeBlanc.
And
Arrow connects! Oh, he does an M-Test! Can they get the kill is the question. I mean, of course they can. Oh. M-Test almost goes down. NG finds a kill to Crossman. That's going to be Flaxish finding a double kill on the backside of the fight. Nolty and Kerberos, last man standing for Wind and Rain. They have to start running because M-Test is almost in position to slow down this Cho'Gath. The knockup doesn't connect. Now it will. That's going to be Anthrax knocked up. Kerberos, when he's got so much health, still another 3,000. Nolty, not so much, under 1,000, will get taken on out. Use Cho'Gath. Don't need to kill him at this point. Can Flaxish survive? He can. Wow, what a catch coming through from Diabolus.
But by going hard enough in, they remove the jungler from the map. They can collapse back onto Baron. They have the 4 members. Even if they are on fairly low HP, they're going to try and make it happen.
Can Kerberos, with his ultimate up, get on into this Baron pit to try and smite away it? It's going to be the teleport coming through, though. It's going to be Kerberos focused down. Is able to take down Flaxish, holy, but he will eventually go down, shut down by M-Test.
But he trades 1-for-1 to deny the Baron. Crucially, they're buying the time for Nolty to come back online. That's a win for Kerberos, and that's a win overall for War, because we see it started off so horribly with Crossman getting caught out of position. And then it all just goes really badly on the other side where Flaxish, you can see he's able to just remove the bot lane instantly before Nolty can respond, before Cho'Gath is there to tank up anything.
So much disrespect coming through from Wind and Rain. Nolty engages, leaving that backline exposed, and Flaxish, this very scary Aurelia, will eat them up for breakfast and lunch and tea. Kerberos' valiant sacrifice allows Wind and Rain to get onto this Baron pit and start taking it down. There can be a return from Diabolus. They spotted it out, 8,000 health, but can they fight without Flaxish? They've got the ward, they've got the teleport available, but it is going to be Kerberos teleporting into the pit as well. Asharu connects. It's going to be onto Crossman. That's NG knocked back a little bit too early. Flaxish is onto Crossman, and Flaxish will find the kill. Dead's taken down, but it's a double. Fax is dead as well. Flaxish, the monster of Diabolus. And right now, Diabolus are charging forward to find anything more they can. M-Test looking for the damage onto this Cho'Gath, looking to give the kill. The Abyssal Voyage to cut him off. Kerberos is getting closer and closer, but Airfrax swallows him up, and that will be the kill onto the Cho'Gath. This game is not over yet, but Diabolus, they're looking for the Baron.
But Nolty's still alive. He can still try and make something happen here. Nakatsune's almost got his ultimate back up.
Can this Gragas get into the fight? Can Akasuni, with his ultimate almost respawning, find the kills? It does so much damage, even for a support. Vel'Koz here, something that Diabolus will obviously have to respect. Nolty gets focused on in, gets swallowed on up in just a second. Amphrax finds the kill, but look at the health bars. NG, they smite it, they find it, and Akasuni almost loses his life, burning away to the red buff, but will not lose his life. Is the Asher up? No, it isn't. Okay. We're not going to see that kill going through. Diabolus are winning!
Once again, not respecting the Flaxish flank. You can see he's TPing in into the river, and he lands a 4-man ultimate. You can see here completely removing every member at once, all disarmed, all caught out of position, and it's so easy for him to get those 2 kills. Suddenly, everybody's, there's only the tanks remaining, and Akatsune's low. There's no damage dealers. They just have to run.
Oh my goodness, Flaxish 9-2-2 with a flame horizon over Kerberos here, showing us why he was one of the top laners that predicted to dominate this season. And now Wind and Rain, despite a beautiful start to this game, are on the back foot. Gold, it is about as even as it can be at a 35-minute mark, but with a Baron up for Diabolus, they are in the commanding position.
We said Ashe, if she falls behind, struggles to keep up with Varus. But when you've got a mid lane Lulu with Ardent Sensor, that's kind of not the case. You got the ability to make that Ashe scale as well as the Varus into the late game.
Diabolus are waiting for Wind and Rain to miss position here. Waiting for the opportunity to get on in. Mid lane tower still standing. The wave clear from Kerberos attempting to get rid of it. They don't have the best though, unfortunately. It's enough that Diabolus won't just run up to the tower and start chunking it out.
But the thing is, now we see that War, they don't really have the late game to rely on as much anymore because, as we say, Ashe has that extra scaling. Lulu with the buffs on top of her to keep her safe as well with the wild growth. And Flaxish, he's getting stronger and stronger. So now War, they have to find a way to make a play happen to get back into the game, to give themselves an advantage that they can try and snowball off of. Otherwise, they're just going to slowly get choked out.
And Diabolus are not confident with this Baron at all. They are not making any plays around it. They want to get this split push Flaxish rolling. No teleport though, something they have to respect. A triple TP comp with only 1 TP up, and the Baron play so far has been non-existent. Ash Arrow misses once more. Diabolus can't find the engage they want here.
You gotta say that Diabolus, they're at least making plays aggressively, but these plays are working out. These are actually good plays that they're trying to make happen, even if sometimes the ultimates
Oh no, M-Test,
the idea is always correct, and that's what's allowing them to get advantages.
Has teleport up, has the empowered recall, but NG's been engaged upon. Engaged, oh my goodness, so close.
The stone plate barely saving his life there, just giving him enough health to avoid the death. And War, they're keeping the pressure on him. They're not letting up, and they're not giving them this tower for free.
Yeah, Wind and Rain have just completely denied Diabolus any opportunity with this Baron take. It's almost like it hasn't happened here on the Rift so far.
But we see Cho'Gath still becoming this hyper tank. They're struggling to kill him in these fights. So if he can actually be there at the start of a fight and be the necessary frontliner to disrupt the Aurelia, to silence her when she wants to go in, keep her out of the fight for as long as possible, maybe that's where Fax starts surviving, because we've seen Fax gets focused out so well by Flax.
M-Test steps on forward, knowing that Gragas' ult is not up. Corrupting Chains are spreading, but saved on up. Anthrax will get engaged upon, has that grey health. Is going to have to use it. He may just go down. No, the Wild Growth is used on him. Kerberos on the front line now falling back. Nolty, the target from MTest, looking for it. MTest walking up to a choke-off. It's a dangerous game, but Flaxish is here now to try and turn this around. The damage already done. That's going to be the first kill. Akasuni gets away, but it's Kerberos who goes down. And look at the health bars blinking on the side of Wind and Rain. Flaxish able to make the play. That's going to be the second tower falling. After the Baron buff has expired, mind you, Diabolus finally break it open.
And they spend so many resources before Flaxish even gets into the fight, so he's able to come in and get the damage down. You can see everybody goes so low just from Flaxish landing a couple of Qs. He's at the point in the game where he is fully online and ready to shred through every single member of Wind and Rain.
Diabolus, they're going to take down this Wind Cloud Drake now, making the Elder Drake join us in the next 7 minutes. If we do, of course, get to that 43-minute mark. Obviously, that Elder Drake a little bit more threatening if Wind and Rain are able to pick it up.
The fact that they've still got the 3 dragons means that the Elder Drake is still very viable for Wind and Rain, and of course Diabolus having the 2 for themselves, but it means it has to be a very contested objective, and Baron will be coming back up shortly afterwards. So by taking the Elder Dragon, it makes it that much harder to fight you at Baron. And it means that basically whoever wins that fight around Elder Dragon will take the Baron and is likely to use that to close the game.
You would think so. Definitely a win condition enabled. The Baron, of course, also going to be joining us in just 2 minutes' time as well, meaning that both these teams have another objective to fight over. Diabolus have looked scared to hard engage, hard commit onto Wind and Rain. If that Sejuani ult doesn't connect, if the Ash Arrow goes wide, then there is just nothing to come forward. Respecting all this time Nolty's ability to counter-engage with that explosive cask.
We said in Forge of Champions 1, Flaxish looked like a very hard carry top laner who was able to shut down Kerberos in lane and dominate the games by winning through top lane. What we're seeing here is exactly the same as back then. What has changed? And you got to say they've removed the liability in the mid lane. You have to say that Zeph was, with Zeph having left the team, and MTest coming in and playing a utility as well, with both of them just being utility for the Aurelia to help set her up and not do too much wrong around the map other than set up plays. It's allowed Flaxish to have all the pressure off him and go, okay, I can just be free to try and carry the game on Aurelia. And that's what he's been doing. 10-2-2. This is much more like the Flaxish that we saw back then.
Yeah, absolutely, though. It has surprised me that Diabolus have kind of been playing ARAM down mid and not utilizing how threatening that Aurelia is in a split push mode. It has just felt like a lack of game plan at this 40-minute mark. The only way they feel like they want to win is if that Sejuani ult catches out Fax or Crossman.
And so it's still hard for them to get those consistent engages unless they catch somebody out of position. Like we said, this is the difference between Sejuani and Gragas. Gragas makes missed positions, Sejuani capitalizes on them. If you can have both in a composition, then suddenly you've got a really great pick comp just in that.
And to further that point, it only gives Wind and Rain the breathing room they need to stay in this game because they aren't being threatened by the potential split push, the potential 1-3-1 that they have with so many teleports available. Diabolus are constantly allowing Wind and Rain the arm length they need to stay healthily at this point. As long as Wind and Rain are able to avoid engage, counter engage, then this game plan Diabolus are bringing to the table just doesn't really have many win conditions.
So with the pressure that Diabolus have had in these team fights and with the ability to play front to back like they have been so effectively with Flaxish, you got to say they can afford to stall this one out. They can afford to wait for the Elder Dragon and then use that to take the Baron, having both to end the game there. But for now, it's Wind and Rain just trying to stall the game out as here we see the engage.
Yeah, engage onto Kerberos here. NG doesn't quite connect his ultimate. MTest is fine for now. Akasuni, though, taking down Flaxish. Flaxish diving around the fight, but he's going to get taken down. The Guardian's Angel to keep him alive for now. Kerberos can't say the same for him. He's dead. First casualty of the boardroom. Now it's going to be Diabolus looking for the re-engage, but so far, Wind and Rain able to run away.
Almost a really good fight for them, you have to say, but Kerberos sticks around, trying to disrupt Flaxish as he comes up from the GA, see if he can get anything off on him. But no, it just means that they trade Flaxish's GA for that one member.
There's nothing that they can get off it either.
But you can see the Warmogs now for Nolty. He's acknowledging how scrappy this game is where he has to come in and out of fights. So he's got this Warmogs now to be able to contest if he does get pressured out.
Here it is. Ultimate onto Kerberos. Flaxish attempting to try and take down Crossman in that backline there. And Fax, of course.
I think we have to talk about how well Anthrax has just been saving M-Test every time. And it's again, it just seems like the rest of the team is playing a let's not int and let's just set up Flaxish to carry style. They're just fully buying into Flaxish is that much better than Kerberos. Let's just let him do his thing.
Yeah, no, definitely wanting to team fight, that's for sure. Now we enter the 43rd minute. And that Elder Drake is so close to joining us as well, making the punishment for any mistake that much greater for both these teams.
Still,
another arrow onto Kerberos. Seems like they're very happy to engage onto the front line. Crossman dives in just for a bit of damage, but M-Test fine for now due to Amphrax's ability to keep him safe on this Kench. No re-engage.
We can see what Crossman's doing now. He just uses the dash in, no other abilities, just lets him get eaten up, and then looks for the next opportunity.
Oh wow, look at that. That's going to knock Flaxish into the fight, straight onto Fax, and he just gets destroyed. Crossman gets out for now. 1-for-1 trade, but M-Test, he's fine to just keep firing onto this front line. With Fax dead, it's not going to matter. Kerberos soon joins him on the grey screen. A 1-for-2 in favor of Diabolus, and they're making their path towards that Baron pit.
They're starting to be able to get rid of Flaxish, but it doesn't matter when he's chunking so many members low and removing Fax from the fight as soon as possible. In the meantime, M-Test is able to free hit. You can see he's got the crit items now. He's got the Blade of the Rune King. He can shred through the front line with an Ardent Sensor. And so there's Lulu plus Tom Kench plus the safety given to the Ashe just makes it so much easier to be able to win these fights. Now they're going to shred through this Baron.
Yeah, this Baron's going to go down very quickly. Wind and Rain, well, they're going to reveal it at that 8,000 health. They've got that smite available for Nolty.
Oh, but
Lulu, well, he's fine for now. We'll be able to actually get onto Crossman, who may just be in trouble. Oh, here comes Kasuni. That's going to be M-Test taking down Crossman. That's going to be Nolty, chunked on down by this Ashe. Cannot escape. He actually just flashes the wall and says, I'll have your double. Thank you very much. NG's going to make sure that Nolty doesn't escape. A triple kill for M-Test. Safe to say he's online. And now they're going for the end. Flaxish, he's back up. Fax, you don't have any safety here against this Irelia. He's going to go down so quickly. We don't even get to see it happen. Kerberos, well, he picks up Balulu, but it's his final wish. That's his death. The ace. 4 kills for M-Test, and the game Diabolus' way.
And it seems like they thought they were playing against Flaxish from those Forge of Champions 3 and 4. No, this is him back on form. This is back on the LCS caliber top laner. He has shown up massively for Diabolus in this game, carried them through, and M-Test on the backside supporting him. This is a clean win for Diabolus. As it got past that 20-minute mark, it became that much easier. And Wind and Rain, they look on the ropes.
They look on the ropes, but I have to say, Celtic, it was about the most one-dimensional game I think I've seen from Diabolus this entire season.
I mean, it's the exact same thing, except they won with it this time. They played to solo carry, they got Flaxish ahead, they didn't play around the fact that he could have pushed the side waves, and they ended up extending this game to a 45-minute game when it could well have been a maybe 30-minute. I even saw their coach in the Twitch chat saying the same thing. That's exactly what that draft is intended to do. It's intended to allow for this split push to go off. And when you have someone as strong as Flaxish on the side waves, it would have been much more impressive to have him come in, like force someone to go deal with Aurelia, and then use the ridiculous amount of globals you had to just force a fight with a numbers advantage.
I think it's fair to say that neither composition was performed to perfection at all. I gotta say, even though the Aurelia got so massively ahead, they gave up a lot around that mid-game. We saw Wind and Rain able to capitalize on the mistakes, but Wind and Rain, as the game went on, made more and more mistakes themselves. And that Baron play where they went hard in onto Baron, they're like, we want to bait the team fight. They didn't respect the TP flank from Aurelia. They get caught out with a 4-man Aurelia ultimate, and then suddenly the Vanguard's Edge just disarms all the members. Aurelia's free to do damage. The key damage dealers are gone, and it gives a free Baron back over to Diabolus.
Yeah, my worry here is we're seeing the same issues we saw with Diabolus, and I think, I want to apologize as well. There was a slight misquote at the start of the desk. We did say internal issues. No, the two players left of their own volition, and that's something separate. So apologies to Diabolus there, but the more important thing is that we are seeing the same mentality issues from these guys, where it is fairly one-dimensional strategy when they're in-game. They are just looking to allow solo plays to really carry them through, and we saw that. I mean, even that in some of those last fights, yeah, Gragas ult goes wide, cool, that gives them an opening. Why weren't they able to find their own openings? Why were they not able to play around the map that much more? And it comes down to, have they been taught how? Do they know how?
You saw so many of those Ashe and Sejuani engages just completely miss and go wide or not be capitalized on. It was only really when we saw somebody misplaying massively from Wind and Rain that they got the opportunities to capitalize. So I think it's fair to say that Diabolus, they were able to capitalize in the end. But if Wind and Rain, they play a cleaner style, they play a cleaner game, those opportunities don't show themselves. Suddenly, Wind and Rain are able to get that Baron. Suddenly, Wind and Rain are able to start snowballing the game out where they can just set up a siege effectively. They've got the huge front line, and they can look to have Nulty continue landing those Gragas ultimates to keep people out of position.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say is that if Diabolus continue playing that style, Wind and Rain potentially have a really good impact into that game. But if Flaxish is able to have the game, which I'm sure the damage charts will reflect, oh wow, does do a lot of damage, but yeah, it's definitely MTES getting online. That's the one, I guess, thing that this one-dimensional kind of strategy that Diabolus performed in Game 1 does allow, is that, yeah, they're not really forcing any issues, and that means that the Ashe will get to a late-game, what's the word? Late-game fantasy.
I think
end-game fantasy. Bring it back to Season 4.
I think it comes back to, we talked about it pre-game, and you talked about it in-game. Their comp lacks a lot of damage unless you're starting to pull ahead, and you then saw that
late game.
Yeah, but you also, the Lulu with the Ardent Sensor allows you to hit that spike a lot earlier.
Sure.
And
so,
then it
the
makes
Whimsy,
it even stronger.
of course, on top of the Ashe, when it gives her the massive attack speed bonus.
Yep.
The Ardent Sensor, of course, the Athenes was there as well to give her the extra safety. So much there to give Ashe the ability to carry in the late game just with one ability thrown on top of her. Tahm Kench to keep her safe as well. And it's just, okay, we are all going to play a fairly safe style. Flaxish, go and do your thing and be the solo carry, and we'll clean up. And that was what was consistently able to happen for MTES. He was just able to hit the front line over and over again with those empowered auto attacks and shred through them.
I would love to have seen Flaxish do more. That's the one criticism I have. When you get that fed...
Yeah, but part of it is, it seemed that Diabolus' strategy was, well, we're just going to run at them until we outplay them mechanically, and that's why you were talking about how, there was an issue because some of the Ashe ults weren't landed stuff. I'd be much more worried about the separate issue you talked about. They weren't capitalizing on some of them.
Yeah.
They were just throwing them because, hey, I think I see a pick. Oh, we actually don't see a pick.
Or
Let's
trying
back
to
off.
hide the fact that you burned stopwatch.
Yeah, things like that. They just started forcing a lot of plays, which gave Wind and Rain chances to get back into it. And from Wind and Rain's side, why weren't you able to capitalize on that? Why weren't you able to find the team fight you were looking for? And why, going into this heavy pick comp, did you not have some kind of idea of how to play around it?
Yeah, I think Crossman's LeBlanc hasn't looked anywhere near as threatening as
you
that
picked
game.
it blind.
It's hard to against a Tahm Kench.
You picked it blind into, it allowed them to the Tahm Kench, but it also allowed them to pick up the Lulu, which is literally in the guy's name, which you talked about being a decent counter as well. I don't think Crossman's LeBlanc was bad by any means. I think mechanically he played it quite well. You're just not given many openings
It's
against...
not threatening in that scenario.
Versus double support, no.
Exactly. That's all the point is saying is that Crossman wasn't able to do what we've seen him do. And now that kind of begs the question, at least in the draft, if you do want to pick LeBlanc, fine. Let's just see what happens first. Let's see what the game plan is so that we can have it in an
probably going to be
effective
on red
position.
side in Game 2, which will give the LeBlanc that much more strength.
It will also... Yeah, and they're probably going to look for the counter pick top as well, which might give them a little more room to play around Flaxish.
But they have the ability to last pick LeBlanc if they so choose. And that puts them in a situation where it is that much easier. Of course, you could even do something where you... it's not really so much Kerberos' style, but you could even just pick a Swain and then have it be a rotatable pick, or things like that.
I think I'd like to see something like, if they want to give some, the counter pick mid, pick something like Poppy. Pick something that's better.
Yeah,
safer,
or just a safer
blind.
top laner, yeah.
Anyway.
Lots of things to think about for these two teams heading into Game 2. It is Diabolus finding their win here in the first of these quarterfinal series for tonight. Guys, before we do throw it to a short break, just want to remind you that we do have a broadcast survey circulating in the chat. If you have any feedback for production, casters, or anything that you want to say, please click the link. We would really appreciate your feedback so that when we do head on over to the UK for the second Forge of Champions tournament, we can bring it to you bigger, better, faster, stronger, harder, Kanye West style. Guys, we're heading to break. It's time for Game 2 very shortly. Stick with us.